On the Pacific Northwest coast, there is an imminent threat, the Cascadia Subduction Zone. This seismic zone is ready to unleash the most significant earthquake in modern history, causing a calamity of unprecedented proportions for the United States. Unfortunately, it is also located in a region unprepared for such a catastrophic event. So, when will the terrifying Cascadia earthquake occur, and what will the aftermath look like? Let's find out. Most people in the United States only know one fault line, the San Andreas Fault in California. Periodically, the San Andreas Fault sends tremors across California, unsettling residents and causing damage that can reach billions of dollars. In 1994, a magnitude 6.7 quake shook Los Angeles and caused around $50 billion in damages. This disaster caused 57 deaths and 9,000 injuries, making it one of the costliest natural disasters in U.S. history. However, although the San Andreas Fault shows greater activity, it is not as frightening as the Cascadia Subduction Zone fault line, which stretches from Northern California to British Columbia. This is mainly because the San Andreas Fault has an upper limit on its potential magnitude. Every fault line has an upper threshold, and the San Andreas Fault reaches a limit of approximately 8.2 on the Richter scale. In contrast, an earthquake in the Cascadia Subduction Zone has the potential to reach at least a 9.0, if not higher. Although a difference of 1 point may seem small, earthquakes are measured on a logarithmic scale, so one extra point means far greater power. To illustrate, a magnitude 6.0 earthquake usually lasts only a few seconds, while a magnitude 7 lasts about 15 seconds. A magnitude 8 lasts roughly 2 minutes, and a magnitude 9 lasts a minimum of 4 minutes. The 1994 magnitude 6.7 earthquake caused more than $50 billion in damage and lasted between 10 and 20 seconds. In comparison, a magnitude 9.0 quake in the Cascadia Subduction Zone would last much longer. The reason the Cascadia Subduction Zone fault is so much more powerful has to do with the way the two tectonic plates meet. The Juan de Fuca plate slowly slides beneath the North American plate, at least, that is what should happen. In reality, the North American plate is somewhat stuck, so the Juan de Fuca plate is continuously trying to press beneath it. This is creating tremendous pressure and stored energy, similar to stretching a rubber band to its limit. That energy will eventually be released, potentially causing the largest earthquake in modern history. The most recent occurrence of this event was on January 26, 1700, with an estimated magnitude between 8.7 and 9.2. Looking further into history reveals an average cycle of roughly 500 years between each major earthquake. As of today, we are 322 years into that cycle. This may give a sense of safety, but it is crucial to remember that averages are not precise. The shortest estimated interval was only 390 years, and there is no definitive reason why it couldn't be even shorter. In 2009, geologists estimated a 10% to 14% chance of a magnitude 9.0 earthquake in the Cascadia Subduction Zone within the next 50 years, probabilities that should not be taken lightly. Currently, Oregon, Washington, and British Columbia are frantically preparing for the inevitable Cascadia Subduction Zone earthquake. Before 1980, the region's vulnerabilities were barely understood. As a result, buildings and bridges were constructed without seismic codes, and even today many are not sufficiently reinforced. The Cascadia Subduction Zone, located 80 to 160 kilometers off the Pacific Northwest coast, spans about 1,000 kilometers from Northern California, crosses Oregon and Washington, and ends off Vancouver Island in British Columbia. Theoretically, the major seismic event, known as the Great Quake, could occur anywhere along this fault. Researchers at the California Institute of Technology have calculated that the southern segment of the fault is the most likely site for the next major earthquake. This would place the probable epicenter off the coast of Northern California to Central Oregon. Regardless of the specific location, the entire region would be affected. At minimum, major cities like Yane, Portland, Tacoma, Seattle, Everett, Victoria, and Vancouver would experience some level of impact. FEMA is operating under the assumption that everything west of Interstate 5 will face total destruction. It is estimated that more than 10 million people across nearly 10,000 square miles will be directly affected by a Cascadia Subduction Zone earthquake, and proximity to the epicenter will determine the severity of the impact, not only during the quake, but for many years after. When the earthquake finally occurs, the first sign will not be a sudden, sustained shaking. Instead, a compression wave will travel quickly from the epicenter, outpacing the actual seismic shaking. Animals, especially dogs, will likely react, though humans may not immediately notice. This results in 90 seconds of widespread barking throughout the region as they sense the imminent event. However, thanks to a recently implemented early warning system in Oregon and Washington, people with mobile phones will likely receive alerts. Although it may not seem like much, those 90 seconds allow for vital actions. Closing railroads and power plants, opening elevators and fire station doors, warning hospitals to pause surgeries, and activating alarms so people can take cover. Look around your home now and imagine that in 90 seconds everything will collapse inside and out. Where would you go? As soon as the shaking begins, electricity will fail almost instantly throughout the region west of the Cascade Range. From that point, there will be about 4 minutes of strong shaking. During this time, all your windows will shatter and sharp pieces of glass will fly everywhere, creating a dangerous situation. Unless your house is firmly anchored to its foundation, it will bounce around your neighborhood, colliding with almost everything in its path. By the end of those 4 minutes, your immediate surroundings will witness a level of devastation few people have ever experienced. However, while your neighborhood deals with this destruction, many others will find themselves underwater. Tsunamis are perhaps the most dangerous natural disaster humans must endure. Because the Cascadia Subduction Zone event will occur offshore, the formation of a tsunami moving from the epicenter toward the western coasts of the US and Canada is an absolute inevitability. Depending on their location, people may have a 10 to 30-minute window to evacuate, which means leaving everything behind to reach higher ground. Currently, along the Pacific Northwest coast, approximately 71,000 residents live in low-elevation areas vulnerable to the imminent tsunami, also identified as the inundation zone. Construction of hospitals, schools, and fire stations in this zone has been prohibited since 1995, but some of these structures still exist. In 2004, a tsunami caused by an earthquake devastated 14 Asian countries, taking more than 227,000 lives. While fewer people live in the Pacific Northwest inundation zone, deaths and destruction are still expected to be significant. After the seismic activity subsides and the tsunami retreats, the scale of devastation in the region will become clear. Coastal communities will all but cease to exist, and major cities, particularly Portland and Seattle, will be completely destroyed. Current projections indicate that along the I-5 corridor, which includes Portland, Tacoma, Seattle, and Everett, electricity will be restored between 1 and 3 months after the earthquake, potable water and sewage systems in 1 month to 1 year, major highways in 6 months to 1 year, and healthcare facilities in 18 months. Along the coast, all of these recovery times can essentially be doubled. Naturally, these estimates do not apply to the tsunami zone, which will be uninhabitable for years. The entire Pacific Northwest will undergo a profound transformation after the Great Quake. Although the federal government will likely cover the reconstruction costs, the economic damage to the region will take a generation to rebuild. A considerable portion of the population will likely relocate and never return. Major corporations and businesses, including Microsoft, Amazon, Nike, Intel, Boeing, and other economic giants, may move to other parts of the country and never come back. Despite its beauty, the Pacific Northwest could soon become a deserted landscape, and it will take a long time before any semblance of normalcy returns. Currently, both Oregon and Washington have launched numerous initiatives to prepare for the inevitable quake. For example, in 2014, Portland did not have a single bridge capable of withstanding such a seismic event. Today, it has 2 vital bridges for survival, and others are in the planning and construction stages. What do you think about the Cascadia Subduction Zone earthquake? Leave a comment below.